At 6 o'clock. This is the regular meeting of council about to start. I am here with Fire Chief Oliver, CFO Rook, CAO DeJong, Municipal Coordinator Duarte, and myself in chambers. And I'm calling the meeting to order. And we'll immediately go to closed. Excuse me. And the proposed topics for discussion in the absence of the public are awards, personnel, and land. And that the meeting be closed to the public on the basis to be considered under the following sections of the community charter: section 91 A, B, C, E, K, N, and section 90 part 2. I'll put forward that motion as a reason to go into close and ask for a seconder. Thank you. Any discussion, any changes? All those in favor of going into closed on that basis, please confirm by saying yes. Those opposed, no.
Yes.
Good. So we will be going into close now, and there is nobody. We're live. Okay. Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, October 26th at 7 p.m. I am in council chambers with CFO Rook, CAO DeJong, Municipal Coordinator Duarte, and I've got two councillors online and several folks in the gallery. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Actually, we have just come in from the closed. There's nothing to report out from the closed portion of the meeting. And I have a change to the agenda, and that will be to have a staff report from Public Works Manager Jaffer in advance of the public participation piece. And then everything else will continue on as for the rest of the agenda. Councillors, any changes, amendments? Okay, I'll presume none. All those in favor of the agenda as amended, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, just before you go on, can we confirm that Councillor Abbott is? Oh,
He's here.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was just slow on the.
Just we're a little tight to the vest on numbers, Councillor Abbott. So you're a yes with the change to the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, yes, thanks, and we're carried. So we'll start off with the staff report from Public Works Manager Jaffer, and that will be on railway signage. Mr. Jaffer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in advance of the new Transport Canada grade safety regulations, which come into full effect on November 21st, 2021, Transport Canada has been sending rail safety inspectors to various crossings across the nation and reviewing all of them for safety standards. Brunswick Beach was inspected this month, and on October 5th, we received direction from the Transport Canada Rail Safety Authority to remove the stop signs at the signalized crossings. The order cites clause 8.4.3, which says stop signs must not be installed at grade crossings equipped with a warning system. Public Works staff expressed concern at this, and we have elevated our objection to the senior crossing engineer who's responsible for grade crossings throughout the Lower Mainland. We are awaiting a response back from him. However, we anticipate that the response will be in accordance with section 8.4 of the grade crossings. And just in point form, stop signs should not be used indiscriminately. Stop signs should be used only where traffic engineer studies indicate their use warrants these devices. These studies should consider aspects such as traffic speeds, volumes, sightlines, and collision history data. And lastly, a stop sign must not be used on the approach to an intersection equipped with traffic control signals. So that's what we expect the response to be. However, we are still pushing. And I want to thank everybody that has written in, because those letters have provided us with ammunition to further our case. We have also reached out to traffic engineers to obtain a cost to review our intersections, but we haven't heard anything back yet. So notwithstanding all of this, if we are forced to remove the stop signs, Public Works staff have plans to institute traffic pattern changes in the event that we're told to remove them and not given any time. We have come up with alternative measures that we can institute to help ensure that pedestrians and vehicles are navigating intersections safely. That's all.
There you go. I tell you what, we'll do a little bit of latitude here. We'll go with the councillors first, and then I think I'll open it to the gallery. We might as well do a cooperative thing. I'm sure the gallery will be pleased with that. Councillor Abbott, we'll go alphabetically, and then Councillor Bain. Any questions for the works manager? And then we'll go right to the gallery.
No, I don't have any questions. We hear from the gallery.
Councillor Bain.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on the matter. One of them, particularly the Lions Bay Avenue one, where you've got a railway right at an intersection that you can't see around the corner. It concerns me that they would require us to take out the stop sign. I applaud the works manager for investigating this. When something just doesn't smell right, it probably isn't. So,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I would just caution. So it's no different in our community than in any other community. And West Van has similar crossings at railway station at intersections in West Van, Dunderave being one of the big ones, which has cross streets just after the railway crossing and even before the railway crossing. So as long as the local authority takes action on their controlled areas, so within their right-of-way, the road right-of-way, to make things safe, all Transport Canada is focusing on is the actual crossing itself.
Okay. Good. Well, I'll hold it off at that and let the gallery speak if you like.
Thank you very much. Before we go to the gallery, a couple of questions for me, Mr. Jaffer. So what you're saying, I thank you very much for supporting the view that there's stop signs or we have better control. So if I've got this right, we're being regulated on the change, and it's kind of across national. They've got the big army in place to enforce it, I guess. But if we were to move the stop sign back, regardless of whatever else is there, onto our property, for the sake of argument, we could move it back 10 feet. We'd be conforming. Would that be fair to say?
I don't think so, Your Worship. Section 8.4 of the regulation states that a stop sign must not be used on an approach to an intersection equipped with traffic control signals.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Very much. Thank you very much. And what would the engineer be doing that you're thinking about employing on our behalf?
They would look at the intersection and they would make recommendations that would go to Transport Canada to support a stop sign or alternative measures. Okay,
and just, I'm sure this is within your operating budget. I'm sure, I hope it doesn't have to come back to council, so I don't want to stall this. If you do need a budget, today would be the time to ask for it, so we don't stall the process. Your hope here is that this will be another piece of ammo to approach the transport people with?
So the people that I've been communicating with so far are just the rail safety inspectors, and they're just following the guidelines. Okay. The person that would make the decision would be the senior engineer responsible for intersections, and I'm waiting for a response back from him. I haven't heard anything back.
All right, thank you very much. Councillors, any last questions? Then I'll go to the gallery. And if that's none from the councillors, I see, sorry, Mayor, Former Councillor Simons has had her hand up for an hour and a half now. So we'll go with her first, and then Mayor Broughton, and then Mr. Broughton, if you'd like to go.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. And sorry, Brenda, I didn't really mean to jump in front of you, but
That's absolutely okay. I don't know how to create a hand. I've had my hand up 3 times, but anyway.
it's good to hear the news that Mr. Jaffer is pushing back on this, or at least is aware of the concerns. I just want to confirm that I had written into the CAO, and I want to make sure that in any other correspondence that can help you in supporting the need for safety at the Lions Bay crossing, which is, of course, we live right above it. So we have anecdotal, visual examples that we could ream off as to how this would be a disaster. One of the things that I think I'm hearing is that the village may incur the costs of a study, when I really think I heard you say that the railway people had only looked at Brunswick, when it seems like it's in their regulations that they should actually look at their expense, look at safety concerns at Lions Bay Avenue. Only because there's actually the time from which the crossing light begins to warn of a train coming, and the actual time that it would take for a boat trailer or a moving truck to move out of the way is not sufficient for safety. So without a stop sign there, I think they're actually increasing their liability. So just a point, and I can help wherever you need.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Very much, Mayor. Your comments?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor McLaughlin, and thank you, Works Manager Jaffer, for meeting with this team. What I'm aware of is that a junior team cannot vary what they're reading, but they're not reading paragraph 4. Paragraph 4 gives us as the authority to put the stop signs there. So paragraph 4 follows paragraph 3. What I'm aware of from my 15 years as mayor, my 2 years as council member, so 17 years, is that it is vitally important for mayor and council to meet with the senior people, because they're the ones who can make that variance, and without harm to their, or without believing that there might be harm to their workplace. So it says stop signs should only be installed by the authority identified in the Highway Traffic Act for the province or territory in which the sign is to be erected. Generally, this is the road authority or municipality, but if authority is unclear, the minister may provide solution. While we have a railway control signal there, we do not have a traffic control signal there other than our stop signs. So just looking at the density of language, I'm thinking of when our daughter Tegan was working for TransLink, the language and the linguistics are technical. And so it's really important that I don't believe, what I was saying, Mr. Jaffer, to the mayor earlier today, is that Transport Canada or any federal responsibility puts this out, and it's not to be mean or it's to be wise, but there has to be variances. So they put in paragraph 4 the absolute ability for us to do this. And I know in working with BC Rail earlier, I was giving an example to Mayor McLaughlin earlier today, that it's so vitally important to just meet with them. I mean, I remember we were going to have a tolled highway. We were going to have a tolled highway. But the deputy minister and I went behind a closed door and we had a private conversation. And they actually enacted what was said in that conversation into legislation. If you only have one way in and one way out, it's in legislation now, by the way, is that you're not tolled. Therefore, the Sea to Sky Highway is not, nor is at risk of being tolled. So it's really important for mayor or mayor and council to, I believe, meet with you, Mr. Jaffer, and the senior engineer or people senior to the engineer to explain. And I would say all three of the crossings are at risk. When Michael and I have lived here since, lived on Lions Bay Avenue. We've lived in Lions Bay since 1974, but we've lived on Lions Bay Avenue since 1981. And every time I go over that track, and anybody who's witnessed me, whether it's in my smaller Volvo or the SUV, it's you stop and then you go over the track and then you look and then you go out a little bit further so that if there's something that you didn't see, perhaps an animal or a trike or something, and then you turn. And everybody, it's almost like a way of driving. I'm sure that every council member can report the same kind of method, and certainly Ruth, in where they're located, would see people over and over and over doing that. But I've been part of a running group at Brunswick, and we left Brunswick because it was so dense with cars, and without those stop signs, we would have just been catapulted often right into the, ocean. And then recently we were standing as a group in the cul-de-sac at Kelvin Grove and became just very aware of how important those stop signs were. And Mr. Jaffer, you would know this very well, people come off the highway by the works department and then they just drive. They're looking for a beach and they drive like, hockey sticks. And if there was no stop sign there at that cul-de-sac, they'd just be whipping around. And pedestrians coming out of the park, coming out of the homes there, or coming out of the parking lot. So I see all three of those as real areas of concern. And I think that if Transport Canada people were invited to Chambers for a shirt sleeve session, I do think that there would be agreement to leave those there. And as I say, paragraph 4, 8.4, paragraph 4, identify.
Thank you very much, Mayor Broughton. Thank you. And anybody else in the gallery on this or another topic? Otherwise, we'll move on. Mr. Broughton, can you unmute? Michael, can you unmute?
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Just to reiterate, and having been a resident of Lions Bay since 1974 and on Lions Bay since 1981, as Bruce Simons was saying, I could give you multiple examples of near misses, and all three of the railway crossings have visibility issues, they have distraction issues, they have terrain issues, and they all involve incredible pedestrian and automobile interface. So, I think the village has the authority to deal with this. Certainly, I think that's completely clear. But in addition, all bureaucracies have a whole set of guidelines, and they are called guidelines because you then humanize, you then bring intelligence and to the situation in order to make a logical and a reasonable conclusion. So anyway, each of those locations requires you to stop and proceed slowly, and that happens by leaving those stop signs there. And I'm just very, very concerned that there would be a disaster. I know there would be a disaster if the signs were not there. I mean, I could list multiple examples of mums and baby buggies just out of your line of sight as you're coming over. All three of the settings, there's a drop off afterwards, and cars just do not see it. Also, cars coming off the highway, they are cautious often in one direction, but and then distracted And then when they find out that they've been in the cul-de-sac or whatever, then they're again sort of looking for a way out and really need some guidance in terms of being slowed to and ensuring that there is reasonable visibility and reasonable safety for everyone. So anyway, it's one of the things that came up was about sightlines. There's sightlines issues. There's a lot of issues, and it just really needs to be proceeded with and looked at. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Broughton. Unless there's another speaker on this topic, and I'll allow one more. I think we've got a minute or two. Then we'll, if not, we'll move on. There's 3 others in the gallery. Last chance, going, gone. Anyone coming forward? Okay, thank you very much, public, and thank you for joining us. And just before we conclude on this, Mr. Jaffer, I think I've seen a couple of the emails. Is there more than those that we've seen so far on your ask for consultation from the village?
No, that's it. Just the on-table materials.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item, which is item number 6. It's the regular council meeting of October 5th.
Sorry, Ron, sorry, Mayor, I didn't pass any comment earlier. I was actually waiting to hear what the residents had to say. My comments are fairly simple. I find it hard to believe that this engineer is going to recommend removing that sign. I don't see how that makes it safer. Puzzled by the fact to be called something a traffic control signal when it only gives one signal, only shows the red, it doesn't give a green light. So I really hope that Mr. Jaffer gets the result he's expecting when this review is done. And if not, I think as a council group, we should certainly push hard and take it further. I can't see how it makes the situation safer. It just makes no sense.
There you go. Thank you very much, Councillor Abbott. My apologies, my head was down looking at the agenda. CAO, you had a comment?
Well, I'm just wondering whether or not you want to have any kind of conversation about providing any kind of budgetary guidance for, if we get back a quote from engineers on providing a study, whether we should go ahead with something like that, or it's difficult because we haven't sort of got that feedback yet. So I'm at a bit of a loss in terms of what that might look like. Nye, do you have any sort of idea?
Yeah, I'm concerned about pulling a number out of the air right now. We are urban and the crossings don't see a lot of traffic in the context of the Lower Mainland, and I'm hoping that the engineers take that into account. Ultimately, the goal of this would be twofold. The first goal would be to provide evidence and information to Transport Canada for us to be able to leave the stop signs in place. Failing that, if Transport Canada doesn't agree with that, then to provide changes to our existing intersections. I'm really hoping it doesn't come to that, but that's the option. As for cost, I haven't got a clue, and picking a number right now would be pointless in my opinion. I think we should wait, and we can come back to council at the next meeting once we hear. My goal is to get Transport Canada to provide us with some more time rather than sticking to the November 21st deadline.
Mr. Jaffer, it's your call. Maybe we can go to, we don't want to disclose what the budget is in the public because for the obvious reason. If you want to bring this up when we go back into close, we get another chance at it. I'm only thinking of speeding this along. So we'll leave it with you on that to reconsider.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Apologies for the time. So back to the item 6 that on the regular council meeting of October 5th, the minutes be approved as circulated. I'm working the 2 councillors hard. Thank you very much, Councillor Bain. I'll second. Any discussion, any changes, any amendments? I have none. Councillor Bain, any?
I have one.
Councillor Abbott?
Page 9, we are talking about the potential for this grant on a retrofit at the hall. Second bullet down, could be a good fit for the village hall, requires new windows and furnace. And I believe I suggested we should also look at, high efficiency wood stove in replacement of the open fireplace, which is no longer code compliant. Could we add that?
Done? Just a second, Carla, what's,
It's okay. I'll check in if it's not on there.
okay,
I thought I put it further down, but
Good.
well,
I
it's,
don't know. I can't remember.
It's your discussion and see the end of the second paragraph. Last
Sorry.
bullet.
it's
Okay,
down
sorry, my
farther.
bad. I do see it there now. It's just
Okay.
not listed with the other ones.
Thank you.
I
Any
guess
other,
that's fine.
another change, Councillor Abbott?
That one
No, it's
was
fine.
stuck in my head.
You're good?
It was.
Okay, thank you. Well, you wrote it, you know where it is. Thank you. No other changes. I'll call a motion. All those in favor of the minutes as they are, please confirm yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Next one, special council meeting, October 12th. I'll put forward the motion that they be approved as circulated. Can I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion on this? Any changes, amendments, additions, deletions?
Not from me.
Councillor Bain, none?
Done.
None, me neither. Call a motion. All those in favor of the minutes as written, please confirm yes. Opposed, no. There's a yes, thank you. Done. Business arising from the minutes. Any councillors? I have none that don't have in play right now. Councillor Abbott?
I have a kind of request that I've asked before, and a suggestion that maybe some of these items that are sort of committed to in the meeting but aren't dealt with in the following meeting, if we could put them on the action list so they don't get lost. And I'll give you a bunch of examples in these minutes. On page 7, this was the beach park with CEO de Jong committed to coming back to us with a presentation of the grant and the scope. The next one was the Ocean View Road thing, but I think we know where that one's going, but likewise it could have been on the action list.
You thinking
Then I've
this?
got a question. Has there been any progress on this particular grant for the hall, or when that would come back? Can we put that on the action list as well?
Councillor Abbott, if I just to go where I think you're going, is this something that you perhaps we morph the business arising into unfinished business? So it's before us? Oh wait, it's kind of glaring.
Unfinished business. Good point. I guess I am talking more about unfinished business than.
It seems like it's a high profile area using the examples that you gave. I mean, it can sit there until it comes, but at least we're not losing track of them. If you're fine with that, that's right.
Yeah, I just feel that some of them drop off. They drop off. We don't talk about them again. And 6 months later, some resident says, "What happened to that report I was supposed to get?" Which has happened to me.
Councillor Abbott, I agree with you. It's a very good point. I don't want to lose some of this stuff, and it's not that there's so many of them, but they're meaty ones. So I think if I could ask that these items, the ones that Councillor Abbott just mentioned, be added on to unfinished business and they're addressed next time out. If that's fine with you, Councillor Abbott?
That's fine.
Thank you. Good call, good pickup on that one. And Councillor Bain, anything else in business arising or something you want to add to unfinished?
Nothing from me.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you very much, Councillor Abbott. Back to unfinished business, and that's Mr. Jaffer and the Bear Smart. Any update on that?
Yeah, so I emailed Ms. Clark and the Bear Smart Committee, and I will be including options for bear-proof bins within the RFP that council can opine on and decide when the time comes.
There you go. Okay, so this is work in progress. It can stay. Next one, Mrs. Mazakowski, Mr. Jaffer, the CAO.
Yeah, responded to. And her feedback was forwarded to MOTI.
Good, thank you. So that's a strike. Next one up is the District of Mount Waddington. So that's budget session. CFO, you've got that in your list.
Yes, I do.
Council, if you're ready, I'm happy to strike that one if the CFO's got it on your list. Is that good with you? Yes, thank you. Done. Strike. And that takes us off the unfinished and to the reports, section 9. Staff the AP listing, and I'll put forward the motion that the AP check listing be received for information purposes. Can I have a second? Then we'll go to discussion. Thank you. Up for discussion on the AP listing. I know the CFO is all ready. Any questions? Councillor Bain, Councillor Abbott?
This has gotten easier. I'm finding less highlighting on the pages each time we come around to it, so I have no issues at this time.
Thank you very much, Councillor Abbott.
Yeah, I haven't got too much, but I have a couple. We use page numbers. Page 20, halfway down, jackets for volunteers, $18,000.
Yes, I should have made a note on that. I apologize. That is, they buy those every 2 to 3 years, and they're paid for from the fire fund, the fundraising money. So, the fire department has a separate account, and that's one of the things they use it for. So it's
The firefighters' jackets.
Yes, but they're not paid for with tax dollars. They're paid for with the fire account, which is funded by donations.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a good clarification.
Yeah, I'll make a point next time. Well, it won't be for a couple of years now, but I should have flagged that. Thank you.
I have a general question. There's been quite a lot of money spent, and I think I asked this last time, but we didn't really get a good discussion on it. There's been quite a lot of money spent by committees. And I know we're currently about to do an update on our purchasing policy on another matter on the green lens. Do committees have to follow the purchasing policy? Well, I guess they should be following the purchasing policy, but do they actually do so?
So I didn't quite hear. You're asking a lot of spending by committees, you said?
Yeah, there's been a fair bit of money spent by committees lately.
Okay, so I just didn't hear the committees.
Anything over $2,000 meant to have 3 written quotes. Do committees actually abide by that? And I'm assuming they should. But do they actually do that?
Yeah, generally, like we have the municipal grants, and they're usually not a large enough dollar value of what they would spend, that under our purchase policy, they would require 3 quotes. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure they do. Like say there's the municipal grants. We had more committees this year with the 50th, and
that was probably what raised it, and there's quite a few highlighted here that are close to or over that $2,000 limit.
I think Councillor Abbott, I'm thinking about this, and probably your question's a good one, because the committee shouldn't slip through the cracks. Let's begin with that. If the rest of us are bound on the same deal. So I'm going to suggest that maybe this is something for the CAO to take away, and when we form our next committee, I mean, committees are starting to close now. I mean, the 50th is done. There is not another active committee other than CAC right now, and they're not in a spending mode, so because they got no budget. So I think this is something we want to put, I hate to use the word boilerplate, but somewhere in there, because they should conform with the rest of the enterprise. You agree, CAO?
Yep.
Yep. So
Yeah.
let's consider that.
I'm just suggesting we should address that when we do this update on that purchasing policy.
yeah, no, exactly.
I don't want to make it more onerous on committees. I mean, I know they do everything with the best intention, but we should, have some set of rules for committees.
Yeah. Again, good pickup. Any other questions on the AP list?
I have one down the bottom of that page, this TransLink DCC remittance. Then in the comments it says developer paid. I'm lost on that one, Pam.
Yes, I might get some assistance with the CIO on that. That's the DCCs we have to remit to TransLink, but they're taken out of,
So-
they're paid for by the person getting the permit. So it's just a transfer of funds.
And we've got a few bare land lots that are being developed right now. So the TransLink DCC is applicable. So for instance, I think for a single family home, where there was previously no developed improvement there, I think it's around $2,000, just gone up a little bit. So, but this would indicate that, yeah, that it's like 1990 or something like that per property. So that probably represents 3. And so they pay as part of their required payments in order to process a building permit. That's the juncture at which we collect that, as we're required to do under the DCC. And so we collect it and then we remit it. So that's the remittance side of it that you're seeing there.
I believe we remit quarterly. So it's not our expense. We collect the money and then pass it on.
Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully we have more charges. There you go. Councillor Abbott, last one.
No, I'll just freaking down the rest of them are around that comment about committees and purchasing policy, so we can just look at those sort of globally.
Okay, thank you very much then. I have none. Councillor Bain, you had no questions, so I'll put forward again a motion to receive. And I have a seconder, which I think I did. I'll call a motion. Thank you. All those in favor of receipt, please confirm yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, carried. Next one is the council priority list as the quarterlies, and that starts on page 31. And I'll put forward the motion that the quarterly updates be received. Can I have a second? And we'll go right to the CIO's discussion. CIO.
Okay, so I'll just perhaps just run through these. Lions Bay Beach Park. Project management planning is in progress. And we just haven't got quite to the point where we're ready to bring it back for an update, but that's coming shortly. Highway noise. There is a section of the highway by the Alberta Creek Bridge, about 70 meters or something like that, that is being redone because the pavement was distressed there. Other than that, it's the only sort of update I've got in terms of updating or renewing the quiet pavement at this point in time. But I'm looking to follow up on that most recent advice from Modi.
CAO, if I could, sorry on this one. I think the general claim was that the quiet pavement was ineffective. The belief was that it hadn't been repaired since the day it was put down, and there's the allegations, if I've got the right term, that they should be swept to be clean to make them soundless. And I think some time ago there was discussion that Modi either didn't do the work, and if they did, nobody ever saw them do it. I'm not going to suggest they didn't. Did that discussion go anywhere? Are we fighting a brick wall here and we're down to this last little piece? This has been on the table for some time now. We've got to this point, so I get the part at a damaged area. But what about the more holistic one? Can you comment?
Yeah, we've been advised that they have been sweeping it on a regular basis, got another cap, and maybe that work happens at night. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't get timelines,
So,
but that's what they've told us.
so they're living within the contract. It's the bottom line here.
Yeah, and we just don't have a clear answer on what the spec is for renewal. Well, you know, when does it have to be redone? That's what we're trying to get.
Okay, so that is, short term is the piece you're talking about, longer term is the spec. Thank you very much.
Okay. Climate action initiatives. So this is just basically updating, not much change here. Continue to work with the CAC on the initiatives that they are putting forward and have requested support in respect of. So that's just continue to work with that.
Did we jump past the DPAs and CACs?
Oh, sorry.
You're to my
But I
own.
started making a note in the wrong spot, that's why. Okay, so what I've got here is the update is that that a committee of the whole will be set for review and discussion of geohazards with a presentation by a geotechnical engineer. Just been trying to gather up the information from previous and to then have a discussion with him and find out, set up a date when we could do that.
You see the DPAs first and then the CACs, or?
Yeah, I'm just looking to try and set up a date for this.
And that'll be in November?
I'm hoping, yes.
Thank you. 50th?
Okay.
Done.
So down to 50th anniversary celebration. Just continue to work with the committee on various projects and events. I think at this point, the mural project is had run into some difficulties with respect to the means by which it could attach to the underpass, and the bridge technicians were not very cooperative in terms of what would be acceptable. So we've actually moving towards an alternative plan whereby that would be something that is over by the highway tank. So the members of the committee are going to be meeting with members of Public Works to discuss how that can move forward.
Thank you.
Infrastructure master plan. So what we've got here is a few things that have been completed. Wastewater treatment plant, the 3 PRV project, the phase 4 or 5 water tank, phase 4 or 5 tank water mains have been taken out of service. The infrastructure Upper Bayview design RFP is published. Paving is scheduled and delayed because of the weather. Bridge repairs and the mag and highway tank reservoir inspections aren't going to happen in Q4. They'll be in 2022. And Public Works, and I expect at the final stage, myself will hope to put the finishing touches on an MOU with the District of West Van regarding procurement options.
Thank you very much, Theo. Councillor Abbott?
Sorry, actually, I put my hand up a little while ago. Why don't we let Peter get to the end? I'll just go back. I've only got a few other comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Asset management investment plan. The phase 1 and 2 reports were posted to the website. The most recent was presented to council in January. We're applying for phase 3 grant funding, and really sort of the next step, I think, is to undertake a review of what options council wishes to entertain or embark upon for public communication of the asset management plan with the public.
I'm sorry, I have an update on the grant. Literally before the meeting, I got an email. It's the FCM grant we applied for 9 months ago. I just got notification it's under review. So it'll take 4 to 8 weeks. So we'll find out if we were successful with the grant in the next 4 to 8 weeks.
Okay, great.
Good, thank you.
Public consultation on communication and council initiatives. The update to this item is the communication survey was completed and reported out in September. And so really it's at this point, I think, a case of council considering those findings and determining what direction or instructions for staff are to come out of that. Emergency planning initiatives. The EOC and ESS volunteers are being onboarded. The EOC volunteers have taken a specialized course geared for Lions Bay, put on by the Deputy Emergency Coordinator and the Director from North Shore Emergency Management, or Assistant Director. So that work is still ongoing, and they're actually, ESS is meeting tonight. They have their regular monthly meeting, and ESS volunteers are joining into that conversation this evening as we speak. Next item is village status under Metro's regional growth strategy. And so we've had some presentations from Metro and some discussion, and there'll be a have your say item going out. Looks like we'll be able to get it done in time for the end of the week. And in the village update. So that's coming down the pike. Water and infrastructure communications, nothing new to report there. Roads and stormwater management. The sentence that I've added in the third column is consider funding RFP for engineer assistance with short, medium, long-term strategy. So what's been discussed at various times over the past few years is the desire for an overall village-wide stormwater management strategy. What we're finding is that staff is at or above capacity in terms of being able to address this topic in any meaningful kind of way, other than when we have an opportunity to do a one-off examination of a particular area. For example, the ISL study that was done on Ocean View. But if the objective is to actually achieve an overall village strategy, then I think we're going to have to consider hiring somebody to assist us with that. So I thought that that would be something that we bring to the council strategic priorities and or budget discussions upcoming. And we can have a discussion about that and look for some cost estimates in advance of that discussion.
Thank you very
And
much.
that's it.
Councillor Abbott?
Sorry, I'll just jump up back quickly. Just one question. Climate Action Committee or Climate Advisory Committee? Isn't it advisory?
Who's got $5? I don't know.
Is it Climate Action Committee?
I think it's
Yeah.
CAC, isn't it?
Yeah, Climate Action Committee.
It is action
It's an advisory
body.
committee. It's an advisory body, as are all of our committees.
I'll go back and look again. I think it's stated differently in their minutes. But anyway, okay.
Okay, another question?
This procurement work with District of West Van, so this is more than just the paving then, correct?
Mr. Chapter.
rolling
Procurement MOU.
Yeah, so basically what this would be is West Bend would include clauses within their procurement process. So when they go to tender for things like office supplies, paving, equipment maintenance, et cetera, they would include Lions Bay in their contract language so that we could take advantage of their rates, their preferred rates.
All right, that sounds good. I wouldn't mind a bit of a better understanding exactly what that is and advantages at some point. Yes, need to know that, or we'll see them as they
Well,
happen?
it's fairly simple. Essentially, we would take advantage of their buying power. So for example, office supplies, because of the volume of office supplies that they purchase, they get a preferred rate, which would be much better than what we could negotiate on our own without that buying power leverage. So their contract will include language that would extend that rate to the Village of Lions Bay.
So this is like all in sundry, every contract they go out on, if it's relevant?
Not exactly everyone, but yes, if it's relevant, yes.
Okay. Sorry, now I'm just thinking about that more, but then of course, so we'd have options to use their rates, but we would place our own purchase orders and just expect the same rate, correct? There's no,
Yeah,
we're not buying it through them or anything like that.
No, absolutely not. We would be a separate entity and build separately, charge separately, ordering separately, everything.
Separately, so
Yeah.
we just leverage that agreement.
Exactly.
On Councillor Abbott's theme, Public Works Manager, I thought they also had, for lack of a better term, they had their own warehouse where if they needed 3 hammers, they'd go to the warehouse. If we needed 3 hammers, we could go to the warehouse rather than going to this and get the same cost rate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, that's part of it.
okay?
And then, yeah, the last one, yeah, another discussion, I guess. I'd still like to sit down and bounce some ideas off you and I, see where that's going. I noticed we had a resident that started trying to do some of that for us this weekend. I think it's Infrastructure Committee member. So we got some help there. And I don't know, when we get to resolve where the Infrastructure Committee goes, maybe that's
So
action that could come back on.
you're talking about the drainage?
Yeah, sorry, the drainage, the last item.
Yeah, I'll have more on that for the strategy session in my infrastructure report. But essentially, engineering support is going to be required in order to do catchment and quantity takeoffs to determine sizing of ditches or culverts. But again, I'll have much more at the strategy session.
Councillor Abbott, are you talking about on the last page of the quarterly report where the CAO was referencing a need for engineering stuff and a budget for that? That's what you're talking about, isn't it? Or something else?
Yeah.
So CFO, that's already in the budget list?
It will be, your worship. It'll be part of the 22
Okay.
budget, and it'll also be at the strategy session.
Thank you very much. Councillor Abbott, any more?
No, I look forward to that other discussion, and hopefully we can find a way without raising too much budget. And I do think that some form of IC might have a use that will certainly be beneficial in that.
Thank you very much.
We'll leave it till then.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bain. Before I close, anything else you've got on the priorities?
No, nothing further.
Thank you very much. I think for me, dear to my own heart, is the CCC community amenity charges and the DPA. So I look forward to that invite date for Committee of the Whole. Let's call it that so we're not confused as to what it is. And in November, great. Thank you very much. So I think we've already got the first and second. I'll call a motion to receive. All those in favor, yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Very much done. That concludes that. Next one, I'll be quick on a couple of things. Remembrance Day update. Let's call it, I hate to use the word committee, let's call it the subgroup as well along. We met for what I think will be the final time today, this morning at my home. And so we have what would be not dissimilar to last year's event, which is outdoors, a fairly brisk 20 minutes laying of the wreaths and very modest speaking engagements. I think that we should have the preliminary program off to Carla tomorrow. So everybody will see that when it comes. Councillor Abbott, I can't believe that this didn't happen, but I guess in the confusion of the pandemic, a couple of years ago, we were in the hall, then we were outside last year. Please, for the counselors, you are invited. It's an outside event, and I'll make sure that everybody's aware of stuff as it happens. Everybody who's in a speaking an engagement or in the area where the events are being held, other than the gallery, are all double vaccinated. That's been confirmed. And that's it for me, unless there's any questions on Remembrance Day. I'll move on to the next one. Okay, there being none. Next one is the native garden.
Sorry, just
update.
one.
Yep.
Sorry, through the chair. One question on that. Is there still going to be a limited participation, a limited invitee list, or is it, from what you just said, is it actually going to be open?
No, the list I've got is the people who would be directly participating in, let's call it the ceremonial part of it. I think it's envisioned at the same place at or near the cairn for the activity part, and then the road will be notionally closed. The firemen will be there directing any traffic. There will be some chairs spaced out in what are now the current parking spots to within, let's call it view confinement, if you will, Councillor Abbott. I think that if I could use the term, it's being under advertised, so there's not 400 people there. So I think it'll be in the update the week before kind of thing, and that'll be it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. And for us, everything's being run through staff for the double, triple final check on that too. So that concludes that. Next is the native garden update. I've circulated some information to staff and the counselors. The native garden, everybody knows what it is, as we're experiencing in some parts of the volunteerism. The folks that originated, initiated, and have maintained and executed and basically done all the doing, they're looking to transition out, hopefully to get some new membership, some new drive, some different ideas. So that is the case with the native garden as well. We're in the dormant period for that group right now. There's a potpourri of ideas, some which would require some modest public works assistance. And for that, I'm thinking of cutting larger trees that we don't want senior citizens to be doing on flatters and things like that. So there's some workout stuff. I'm going to be asking a counselor to lead this. It's going to be a slow process as we do a transition. Working with the current patrons of the garden. I don't have anything more to add at this moment, other than that ultimately, as we have with a bunch of our other volunteer groups, we're looking to bolster the numbers or merge them with something else, not for the village to take on more work, other than the obvious thing of convenience work of dropping off, picking up, and things like that. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Abbott, I'm not asking you to volunteer. Councillor Bain, are you interested in this? Or are you still thinking about it?
Well, I think I've been voluntold, haven't I?
Oh, well, I was trying to be generous. Thank you very much. Thank you very
I
much.
voted for him in support for him to do it.
There you go. Councillor Bain has generously offered to be our liaison while we figure out what we can do for the folks. So how's that for I've Diet Coke the assignment a little bit. There you go. All right, I'll assist you with that too, Councillor Bain.
Okay.
Next one, and this is to my colleagues, and this is correspondence responses. And I saw something and talked about hiding in plain sight. And I'm talking about myself as much as anybody else. Currently, we've got a rotation on the inbound correspondence, primarily for the resident correspondence. And theoretically, if we received a piece of correspondence right now, as we're having our meeting and it came in today, it'd be carded in if it came to Mayor and Council. It'd be carted in for correspondence in 3 weeks, and then it might take another week or two. Again, one of these kind of things, and especially for the counselors who've either been in the service industry directly or indirectly, came to me thanks to the municipal coordinator's finger on my forehead that we're actually taking too long to respond to some of this correspondence. And I'm going to ask that if stuff's coming to me or I see that it's got my bent on it, I'll try and turn it around within 3 days. I'm going to ask that the counselor that's in rotation, if there's something, we're in a slow period right now, so I don't see it's onerous. If we're seeing correspondence that we could answer quickly, that we do it quickly rather than waiting until it gets carted into correspondence and then we respond to it after our meeting, which again, if you do the math, it could be a couple of weeks where that sits in the bin and then another week or two before it goes out. So I think for our residents, for some of these questions that they're asking or information, we should be responding a little sooner. So Councillor Abbott, you're up on the rotation right now. So you're the one that's first up with this. If this doesn't work for whatever reason, I'm happy to reconsider it, but I'm hoping that I'll get your buy-in on this.
Sorry, I thought I was up at the end of the month, but whatever. I think we just need to go back and consider our communications policy, because we did kind of thrash this out a couple of years ago. And what it says is that it has to come to the meeting. At the meeting, council will decide who will respond, and only in an emergency can the mayor respond prior to the meeting and then bring his response to the meeting. So I don't want to be out of step with what our policy says. We might have to revisit it if we want to allow people to respond any quicker than coming to the meeting. That being said, I'm one who's been guilty of being a little tardy on one or two after the meeting, and I do appreciate the reminder if I do. So yeah, certainly we'll commit to getting it after the meeting done faster, but if we're going to do it before the following meeting, we should probably circle back to the policy.
There you go. I thank you very much. I know you're kind of doing grounders all over the infield here today, Councillor Abbott. CAO, this seems like an easy fix for me, and we're trying to do
I think the policy already speaks to the ability of yourself to respond to something that needs a response quickly. And then the key is that you copy all of council and it comes to the next meeting. And if there's any further response as a result of discussion at the next meeting, then that can go to whoever's assigned to do it. And yeah, I mean, where it's something that, doesn't require an immediate response, but I mean, you might want to consider whether or not the correspondence should be acknowledged to begin with right away, and regardless of whether it's just an acknowledgement as opposed to a more comprehensive reply. But anyway, I think, yeah, let's circle back on the policy and let's have a look. Talk about it.
I mean, using this section as an example, we've got one piece of correspondence which has already been answered. So, I mean, this isn't, although there could be an issue that just drives stuff. Okay, I think on this one, we've already, thank you very much, Councillor. We've got our mechanism in place. So I think it's not busy work. Let's just leave the policy for the moment. Let's try this out for the next couple of months and see if we need a revision. So I've got it on my notepad to look at what our volume is. Thank you very much. And that concludes my piece.
Sorry, to the point, we do need to go back and look at the policy. I think it talks about in cases of urgency, or might even say emergency, I don't know. So let's just make sure we're doing what we committed to do. And I don't know how many of these things can wait for the council meeting, and council should have a chance to opine and get a consensus, or at least a majority opinion, before we go back if we can. Otherwise, council are just discussing it after the fact, and some sort of answer's already been sent out.
I mean, quite candidly, I could answer all correspondence all day long. I prefer not to. I'd rather spread the love around, which is why the councillors do it on a rotating basis for the quarter. So, I mean, therein is the problem. And so I think the change in the policy would be to empower the councillors. I mean, It's kind of a bit of a, I hate to use the term old boys school saying the mayor shall respond, but why can't the councillors respond? So I think Councillor Abbott's right. Either we review the policy or we let it stand.
Okay, I'll have a look at the policy and have a chat about that.
Okay. All right. So let's leave that as a work in progress. And if there's something I see, rather than pushing it into correspondence, I'll answer. But with the horizon that there's potential amended policy coming. Thank you very much, Councillor Abbott, for digging it out for us. And CAO, I know you've got lots on the thing, so let's say a busy work kind of thing in the next month and a half kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, anything that for either you individually as councillors or as committee leads? We'll do 2 for 1 here. Councillor Bain, nothing? Nope. Although we're loading you up with committees here, so thank you. Look forward to your advice. Councillor Abbott, anything? Your scholarship, your Bear Smart, anything else?
No, the scholarship committee meeting, I need to have a discussion with Pam. We've got 2 subjects now. I need to have a meeting with Pam and just decide how we want to go about the recommendations that came up in the meeting. So I'll bring that to the next meeting now that Pam's back. Yeah, I think the Bear Smart group did a great job. I think we've got through another season. That sounds, which is wonderful without hurting a bear, which is not the way it was going in the beginning of the year. So I think that one we're going to just remind people about Halloween, which is the last potential for someone to trip up and leaving pumpkins lying around all week. But other than that, I think they've done a great job, and we'll get them rounded up and ready for next year.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to Nye and other staff members on their support, and particularly Nye on working on some literature over the weekend a few weeks back.
Very good. Again, a lot of good work done on both those committees. Thank you very much. Nothing else? Okay, next one, emergency services. So the report is there on page 35. I'll put the motion forward to receive it. Can I have a second? Thank you. Any questions? I guess it'll be pretty obvious. And I'll call a motion. All those in favor of receipt confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Then we're on to item 10, resolutions. And this one is the council grants an exception to noise bylaw 283, 1998 to allow for live amplified music at 168 Sunset Drive on December 4th, 2021 from 8 p.m. to December 5, 2021 at 12 p.m. for the purposes of the Christmas party. And I'll put forward that. And Councillor Abbott, are we getting invites to that?
It's not at my place, it's nearby.
Okay.
Yeah, I live close enough to maybe I'll recuse myself from the discussion.
That would be impossible, otherwise we can't vote.
Good point.
Let's just not even go there. All right, we're not asking for an invitation. Good. All right, I think it's straightforward. I'll call a motion. All those in favor confirm saying yes, opposed no.
Yes.
Councillor Abbott.
I honestly wonder whether I shouldn't recuse myself, to be honest.
I mean, there's no rush here. We can wait till the next
Yeah,
meeting.
there's no hurry. I'm an immediately affected neighbour. There's no urgency on this.
Do you want to hold it?
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Bain, we'll hold.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Thanks.
So you're making a motion.
Okay, motion to table. Okay, so we've already got the resolution. It's been there, so we're in discussion. So the discussion ends with we're going to table the motion. Thanks. All in favor of tabling the motion? Yes, you can do this, Councillor Abbott.
Yep. Yes.
Good. 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 It's tabled. The council next one approves the Renters Code of Conduct as presented at the October 26, 2021 regular council meeting. Approves it being added to the facilities rental facility I'll put forward that motion. It's on page 39 of your package. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. This is pretty straightforward. Any questions for the CAO?
I have no questions, but I really appreciate the work he's done on it. I think he's nailed it. Beautiful. Thanks.
Well, you provided a great lead-in on how it would be structured. Thanks.
There you go. Good. Few words.
I have one question. Likewise, I was pretty pleased with this, but just one thing came to mind. In point B, do we have to, I know there's going to be some gray areas, but do we have to address private parties being outside of this? And I don't really want to get into defining what a private party is and what isn't, but if it's someone's birthday party, it's obvious.
There's a wide variety of uses of all of our facilities, so I wouldn't think it necessary to identify any particular use or activity in this document. This is something that's of general application and applies across the spectrum, I think, and in a number of different ways, from the renter's dealings with staff to the renter's dealings with the people who want to take part in the activity. Yeah, so I don't think it's necessary to single out any particular type of use or activity.
I was speaking purely to, if you had a private birthday party, you get to decide who comes. And it's not, intended for the use and enjoyment of all residents portion of it.
Yeah, I mean, the assumption is that in terms of number 3, that we're talking about an activity that is open to the public, open to all. Where's it?
I interpret B as saying intended primarily for the use and enjoyment of residents of the community, but not necessarily at the same time. Like, so it could be a private birthday party, but for residents of the community.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was stating something that was more or less obvious in terms of.
Yeah, I think it is obvious. I guess I do think it's obvious, but
non-residents facilities in terms of their use. But I mean, number 3, one could say who may wish to join their public activity, to clarify that we're talking about an activity or an event which is public.
that would probably solve it.
Okay. So as amended, I guess.
Okay.
To add the word public before activity and before event in number 3.
Okay, Councillor Abbott, any other changes?
No, I'm good.
Councillor Payne, you good?
I'm good.
Good. Amend the motion as noted. I will call the motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Passed. And then next up is item C. The council approves annual contributions in the amount of $332.54 per year for 5 years, 2022 to 2027, towards phase 2 of the Howe at Katsam Marine Reference Guide, which will be under the purview of the At Katsam Howe Sound Biosphere Region Society as outlined in Table 1 of the summary letter to Lions Bay dated October 2021, and that council directs staff to contribute the annual payments to the Makeway Charitable Society for the years 2022 to 2027 inclusive. I'll put forward that motion. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. It's obvious where this is going. Any discussion, any questions for the CAO, CFO? There being none, call a motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Item number 11, bylaws. temporary borrowing bylaw number 605/2021, and that is on page 43 of your package. And this motion that the temporary borrowing bylaw number 605/2021 be adopted. I will put forward that motion. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. No change from previous. Any discussion? Being none, I will call a motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Those opposed, no.
Yes.
Carried, thank you. Item B on the bylaws, council procedures bylaw number 476/2015, amendment bylaw number 607/2021. And I'm not going to read them all, so you've got them in your package. Carly, I don't have to read them all, do I? That would be a yes, I have to read them all.
No, you don't have to read them. All.
Okay.
You can.
Items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I will put forward that motion. Can I have a second?
Hang on 1 second. Sorry, just 1 sec. Sorry. What I would like you to do actually is number 1 separately, and then number 2, 3, and 4 together, and then number 5 and 6 can be together.
Okay, let me regroup on this one then.
I just want to read out number 1. Sorry.
Let me just get my drink here. Okay, so I'm going to regroup here. So council procedures bylaw number 476, amendment bylaw number 607/2021. That second and third reading be given. Second and third reading of council procedures bylaw number 476/2015, amendment bylaw number 607/2021 be rescinded. I'll put forward that motion. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Any discussion on this?
Oh, yeah, we're rescinding this so that we can go forward and make the other amendments, right?
Yes.
CAO?
Sorry, what was the question?
Are we rescinding this to go forward with another one?
Yeah, so basically we're rescinding second and third reading, which leaves us with the first reading. First reading, however, will be reread the first time as amended, and then second and third time as amended. And then that brings us to the notice provisions.
Satisfied with that, Councillor Abbott?
Yep.
Good, thank you. Call the motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. Okay, council procedures bylaw number 476/2015, amendment bylaw number 607/2021. The council procedures bylaw number 476/2015, amendment bylaw number 607/2021 be read a first time, a second time, and a third time as amended. I'll put forward that motion. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Any discussion?
So what we've got here is you see the amending bylaw 607, and of course we've got, as per usual, the draft office consolidation of the bylaw as amended, and just show where those things take place. We don't have the track change version. So the track change version, sorry, track change, not necessary for the amending bylaw, but for the consolidation. So we track the changes. The gist of what we're doing here is we're going to have to just really, I guess, go through the amending bylaw. And so what we've got is, I mean, some of these things are going to be, there's a few cleanup things that I picked up as I was going through this. However, the gist of the matter is laid out in the report. And the purpose of the amendments is primarily to ensure that, if necessary, all members of council can attend a meeting electronically, including the chair, and that the meeting itself may be conducted electronically, including participation of council staff, invitees, delegations, and the general public. So the province has recently amended the Community Charter and the Local Government Act and provided expanded powers with respect to the conduct of a meeting. There was always an ability for members of a council or board to participate electronically within the confines of the legislation as it existed prior to the pandemic. And we had actually amended our bylaw right at the beginning to ensure that 4 out of 5 of you could attend or participate remotely. The expanded basis post-pandemic, if you can call it that, or just more recently rather with the amendments, makes it clear that all other persons necessary for the conduct of a meeting to be held entirely digitally, that the authority is there clearly in the legislation. Previously, that would be something that one would rely upon the logistical necessity of how the meeting is conducted. Obviously, if 4 out of 5 councillors were participating electronically, you could say that the meeting is being conducted electronically, but this makes it all very clear in terms of what the province has laid out in legislation. Section 128.3 of the Community Charter and the applicable provisions of the Local Government Act. So the province did also provide guidelines recommending putting emphasis rather on the importance of in-person meetings and suggesting that councils and boards only use electronic means as needed or as a supplement to in-person meetings. So section 11(1)(b) of the amendments that you have in front of you tonight refers to a council or council committee member who is unable to attend in person may participate electronically. And that wording is lifted directly from section 128.3 of the Community Charter's new provisions. Section 11 sub 3 of the amended bylaw provides for council to deem an in-person meeting of such significance that all council members must attend. So if you've got a topic that you really feel requires in-person meeting, council as a whole, and at that meeting, it would obviously be an upcoming meeting, be held in person. So that would take away the right of a council member to attend that meeting electronically. So it puts that option in the hands of council. Otherwise, you have the ability to have hybrid meetings. So some people in person, some people electronically, as we're doing tonight, for example. We'll just try and pick out some of the other sort of key provisions. So most of the changes having to do with electronic meetings are found in the amendments to section 11 of the procedure bylaw, and that's on page 51 of 128. I've also added the words committee of the whole within the definition section and where applicable throughout. Not doing away with the
Strategy section.
nomenclature of using council strategy committee, but more or less taking my cue from council's previous comments at the last meeting that perhaps that designation ought to be saved for council strategy sessions, so that if you have a committee meeting throughout the year to discuss a particular topic or receive a delegation on a particular matter, that you could refer to that as committee of the whole. If you like that, if that's the direction you wanted to go. I took the cue that you did and put it in. The provisions for when a meeting must start in order to, if you're waiting to achieve quorum. Right now it was at 15 minutes. So what I've done is added the wording, or such longer time as the chair of the meeting may determine, after the word 15 minutes. So if the chair knows that Councillor Barmeyer is rushing down the hill because his internet is out, but it's coming up on 15 minutes, you can push it another 5 if you want, or what other circumstances. So for example, if you're having an electronic meeting or a hybrid meeting and we've lost power or internet connection and Carla's working furiously to restore it, and we're coming up to the 15 minutes, the chair can say, we're going to give Carla another 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, whatever the case may be in the circumstances, before calling a night. And then basically the procedure bylaw provides already what happens when you lose quorum and there's no hope of reachieving it or the meeting's going to terminate. Then section 20 or 21 provides for what happens. So we basically take note of where we're at in the meeting and what hasn't been heard, and the corporate officer brings that material to the next meeting. The order of the agenda is changed such that closure of the council meeting is at the beginning of the list, with the words when applicable. And that can be either because you need to have a closed meeting as part of the agenda, or because you determine by resolution that you're going to have it at the end of the meeting. If you so choose, you have the ability to do that. What else? Those are sort of more or less the key provisions. Also with definitions, the definition of quorum, because the procedure bylaw generally applies to committees, except to the extent that their own terms of reference may state otherwise. There was nothing in the procedure bylaw that sort of offered the potential for a different definition of quorum in committee's terms of reference. So for example, the tree committee has a different definition for what constitutes quorum. It's not just a majority, it has to be 2 non-elected members and the 1 elected member in order to have quorum. So I've added changed the definition to state unless the committee's terms of reference specify otherwise, in terms of what constitutes quorum. And terms of the beginning of the meeting can be either 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. as determined by council, the corporate officer, from time to time. And yeah, those are sort of the major provisions. There's a few sort of housekeeping things thrown in there as well that I came across. But maybe I'll stop talking and just take any questions that you have at this point.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate the breakdown on the cleanup on a variety of things. I think without seeing the strikeouts, I'm on good faith to move it along. Answers?
Yeah, I've got a couple of thoughts, questions. Sorry, Peter, can you go back to the the timing of the close, the beginning of the meeting, just get that clear. So we still start in open, then resolve to close, right?
Yep.
Like tonight would be textbook.
Yeah,
Sorry?
it's just that in the procedure bylaw itself, section 23 has a list as to the order of the items in the agenda. And for the last while, we've been having closed meetings at the beginning and then going into open. It doesn't, so what it is call to order and then closure. So call to order is the open meeting, closure of council meeting if applicable, and then reporting out from the closed when you come back into open, and then the balance of the open, and then resumption.
So, and the reason I'm asking, so a resident could call in at 6 o'clock to hear us go closed.
Yeah, they could.
And then, okay.
And we presume they do because we're recorded. And you're live on the video too.
Yeah, and there was I think we looked at a couple of different options for doing that, and involving either separate links for open and closed, and or
Yeah, my question here, and I've asked this before, is if that original opening before we go closed, when we go straight into closed, should there not be an opportunity for a member of the public, if they so choose, to pass comment on what he believes is a topic we're going into closed on?
yeah, so the very beginning of the meeting is open. So even if the only purpose of having that portion at the beginning of the meeting, the open meeting, is to close the meeting and stating the grounds upon which it's being closed. If somebody objected vociferously to the grounds upon which the meeting was closed and wanted to publicly convey those objections, then they would have an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if we shouldn't have something that says, we just, even if no one's listening, anyone from the public got any comments or objections to us going closed, pause, and then move on in case someone wants to do so. So that was the one thing, and I think, we discussed this once before, and I wasn't sure we had it quite dialed in. The other questions I've got here, and I've highlighted a few places where it comes up, but I'll probably just try to talk to them in general, and then maybe someone else can go find them. My first question was going to be about is, why do we say who is unable? And you say you picked that up from the Local Government Act or the Community Charter. But there's nothing that says how someone defines whether they're unable. I was wondering why is it, if it should be really just a matter of choice. But can someone challenge someone and say, well, I think you're able, why aren't you here, is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that, when the government has amended the legislation and used wording which specifically provides the authority to do something, that's more or less the authority within which we have to operate. Defining what those terms mean is, in the particular circumstances, going to depend upon each councillor, council member determining that question, I guess. But through, the guidance document that they published along with the amendments, the province is clearly of the view that in-person meetings are the preferred mode of democratic process. They're quite clear about that in their documents, and probably why they chose the wording that they chose. So I think that it's quite widely acknowledged across the spectrum of local governments that at this point in time, there's most or many are are expecting to continue to hold hybrid meetings. There's certainly benefits of the electronic meeting process in that it enables members of the public to take part and participate without having to attend council chambers. So there's definitely benefits in respect of that. We've seen an uptick in public participation and attendance at council meetings because of that. So, you know, on the one hand, it's difficult to say it's good for the public, but it's not good for council. But on the other hand, there are certainly benefits to be recognized from in-person attendance at any kind of a meeting. Having the ability to look across the table at somebody, to pick up nuances and so forth. Those are things that council as a whole should probably continue to assess and consider as we go forward and as things evolve. And certainly something to think about in the future as we do this.
So you bring me to my next point, and I agree with you. And I was going to go there as well. It has certainly allowed for public to be able to listen in or participate to the meetings much more easily. They don't have to come down and sit in the hall for an hour speculating when the particular item they want to hear about might happen. They can be in the kitchen cooking dinner with it turned on, and I think that's been a huge benefit, and we should not lose that. Which brings me to our next question, which is not clear in here. So if council decides that this meeting should be held in person for whatever reason, will we continue to stream it? And I hope the answer is yes, but it doesn't say that anywhere in here.
Yeah, I think that the conduct of the meeting, if council determines that all of you need to be sitting around the table, there's nothing to say that there shouldn't be the opportunity to also Zoom that meeting to the public so that they can watch that meeting. If it's of such importance that you feel everybody should be in the room, certainly of such importance that the public ought to have the ability as best as possible to watch and see and hear that meeting taking place, and if there's an opportunity to participate. So yeah.
Should we put some language into that effect? I mean, it doesn't say that anywhere in here.
I think that so we've got under 11 sub 6, staff, consultants, other invited persons, delegations, and the public may participate by means of electronic or other communication facilities at a meeting under this section. So that's all of the above, including if council decides that they want to have everybody sitting around a table for a particular meeting. So just as in larger communities, cities and so forth, they generally speaking and have had for a while the ability to stream council meetings or board meetings, and I don't think necessarily to the extent of public participation, but I think that's all changed. But certainly we can, our version of streaming is Zoom, and it provides the added ability of the public to participate if there's an opportunity for them to do so. And that would apply to any of the meetings in section 11, which is all types, special or regular, digital or in person.
Okay, so just for me to sort of recap. So all meetings will continue to be transmitted via Zoom. All meetings will have the same format, public participation up front. Correct?
That's the intention here. It doesn't, I haven't specified by Zoom. It's just, I've used the language that they use in legislation, electronic by means of electronic or other communication.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting whether you call it Zoom or electronic. I'm fine with that. The format's going to be the same. They all have public participation and they'll all be transmitted electronically, which will allow people to participate. All meetings. Okay. My final question on this is, given what we've just kind of agreed, is it really necessary to have the committee of the whole sort of done? It's almost like the negative vote to get it done, as opposed to the positive vote in the council meeting. Why do we have to differentiate? Why can't we just describe it the same as the council meeting? Do you know what section I'm referring to?
The intention of a committee of the whole is
so the committee of the whole meeting will always be in municipal chambers unless otherwise resolved, as opposed to a council meeting, which will, as we just described earlier, the intention is it's going to be electronically, it's going to have the same public participation up front. And if you're unable to come, you can call in. I'm just not sure why we had to sort of address it the other way around.
Sorry, which section is that?
Well, if I look on page 53, right, point 19, section 50 is deleted and replaced with committee of the whole meetings will be held in municipal chambers unless otherwise resolved. Why couldn't we just have them the same rules as the regular council meetings? We don't have to go and have a meeting to decide we want the committee of the whole meeting to be outside of council chambers, because you have another meeting to get to that point.
I'm trying to remember what it had before.
What section was it?
Pardon me?
What section?
50. Well, it's on page 53. It's at point number 19, but it's referred to as section 50 of the bylaw.
And Neville, your question is?
So my question is, we have the rules of what we're going to do for a council meeting, and then for some reason, with a committee of the whole meeting, we do it differently. We say the default position is everyone's in person in the council chambers unless council resolves to do otherwise. Why is that necessary? Why can't we have a committee of the whole meeting that is going to be a hybrid meeting, as we discussed earlier, same public participation up front, same format, hybrid meeting, and if you're unable, you can call in. Why do we need to differentiate?
Yeah, so I'm just looking online here at our current existing wording for section 50 and 51. So section 50 was simply a council strategy committee is a committee of which the mayor and all councilors are members, et cetera, et cetera. I took that out because it's already in the definition section. Section 51 says council strategy committee council meetings will be held in the municipal hall council chambers unless otherwise resolved by council. That's what was already there. And what I took out was something that's already in the definition section and thought, oh, we've added the committee of the whole as opposed to the council strategy committee. So I'll just throw that in as the new section 50 without thinking about how do those two sections relate to the changed opportunities for electronic meetings that we now have in section 11. So, sorry, I didn't think about that. I probably ought to have.
Sorry, section 52 notes that the applicable rules of the procedure will apply to.
Yeah, so what that results in is basically a conflict between the two provisions. So I think we could probably just delete sections 50 and 51. You know, we've got the applicable rules of procedure that apply to both committees, and And there's nothing, you know, we're just creating, as you brought up, creating an issue to have to deal with, instead of just letting it go in accordance with the rest of the procedure bylaw. So I would suggest that council strike sections 50 and 51 and renumber everything following that. And that be an amendment to what you have in front of you for second and third reading of the amending bylaw as amended. Does that sound like it makes sense?
That makes more sense to me. I'm good with
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, that's fine.
And
Heard amended and seconded, Carla?
So I imagine that was there previously in case council decided to go to UBCM, all 5 of them at 10. And then go to, what happens if
they have the ability to do that within the procedure bylaw, so they said would have to resolve to do that. Unless it was an emergency, in which case they can do it on the spot. Okay, so yeah, the motion would be to amend by deleting sections 50 and 51 and renumbering all sections following. And so we'd need a seconder and a vote on that.
Okay, seconder as amended.
Oh,
I'm first, sorry.
you've moved the motion.
I moved the
I can't
motion.
move the motion.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at you. Of course, I'm saying I moved it. Councillor Abbott seconded. Any further discussion on this? Councillor Abbott, last chance. You're good. Thank you. Call the motion. All those in favor as amended, confirm by saying yes, opposed no.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, CAO. Next one, Council Procedures Bylaw number 476, 2015, Amendment Bylaw number 607, 2021. That notice of the proposed amendments be provided in accordance with section 94 of the community charter, and that such notice may be given by way of publication in the village update for 2 consecutive weeks, which council considers is reasonably equivalent to that which would be provided by newspaper publication if it were practicable. I'll put forward that motion. Can I have a second, please? CAO, point here.
Okay, so with respect to amending a procedure bylaw, you have to advertise it for 2 consecutive weeks. Section 94 of the charter provides the rules for that. It also provides for the opportunity to, where you don't necessarily have a community newspaper, to follow an alternative process that council considers is reasonably equivalent, and we have the village update. So we have used this numerous times before. We always use it, for example, for the publishing requirements for the annual report. With respect to the procedure bylaw, to be on the safe side for redundancy, what we usually do is publish it in 2 consecutive weeks in the Peak newspaper, as well as 2 consecutive weeks in the village update. The reason we do that is, A, it's a newspaper which is distributed weekly within the community. It's available at the general store. And B, it's close to $1,000 less per week than the North Shore News. So the efficacy of publishing something like this in the North Shore News is vastly outweighed in the circumstances, in my opinion, when we have both the village update and the actual hard copy publication via the Peak.
Okay, any questions, councillors?
No, I think I'm good with that. The key part for me is it's the village update is the primary source of information for residents, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Bain, any questions?
No further for me.
Thank you very much. That being said, I will call a motion. All those in favor confirm by saying yes, opposed no.
Yes.
Good, carried. Thank you. Next one is, this is the Board of Variance piece, which is on page 93 of your package. Board of Variance bylaw number 502, 2017, amendment bylaw number 608, 2021. That Board of Variance bylaw number 502, 2017, amendment bylaw number 608, 2021 be introduced and read a first, second, and third time. I'll put forward that motion. Can I have a second, please? Thank you. Discussion, it's pretty straightforward in your report, one-page report. CAO, anything material to add to that?
No, I did forward the report and the draft bylaw and draft consolidation to the members of the Board of Variance last week. And I haven't heard anything back from any of them. But I'll follow up and make sure that there isn't something that I haven't had a chance to do that.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any questions before I call the motion?
Are we going to wait to we get something back from the Board of Variance, or are we going to go ahead and just pass this?
I've explained in my email what the purpose of the proposed amendments is. It's to ensure that that they have the same ability to meet electronically as they have been under the auspices of the ministerial order that's now rescinded. They have a meeting with, I think, a couple at least applications to be heard November 17th. So kind of need to do 3 readings of this tonight and adoption on November 16th in order for them to proceed with that meeting. And as I say, they haven't got back to me with any issues or objections. I would suggest that it needs to be done, and if there was something that was overlooked and needs to be addressed after the fact, it could be addressed after the fact. But I think we need to ensure that they've got the jurisdiction and authority to proceed with their meeting.
Very much. Okay, that being said, I will, given that why we're doing this now, and we've got the trap door on the 16th, thank you very much, CAO. I will call a motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes, of course, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Carried. Good. Last piece, Councillor Abbott. I'll do the drum roll for the warm up for the short correspondence section. And that's on page 113. And I presume you'll do the consent thing on the exterior correspondence unless you're pulling one out. I'll leave it with you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, as I said, I thought I started next meeting, but that's fine. I have gone through all of them. I think the general correspondence ones we can just receive. There's nothing in there that's not just the normal reporting stuff we get.
Okay, motion to receive that. Yes.
Yep.
Good. I'll second. Good. You're good, Councillor Bain.
Yep.
Received. Thank you. And I responded to Mr. Sredsky, so you're done on that. It's not the shortest correspondence section we've ever had.
It is. But yeah, to our discussion earlier about reviewing the policy, I think Mr. Sredsky's email is something that should have come to council first and then decided how to respond. But we'll do that when we review the policy.
I agree on balance, except that since I met him in person last week, I shot the bolts a couple of days early. There we go. All right, thank you very much. And that brings us to new business, which there is none, and public questions and comments. I see 3 on the gallery. If you'd like to come forward, please unmute. And I'll give you a second to do that. Nobody coming forward, then we'll say goodbye to the gallery and thank you for participating. And we will pause this public meeting, ask the gallery to leave, and we will, Councillor, stay where you are, and staff too, and we will use this link to go into the closed. Okay, so here we are. Okay, hello, it's 9:20. Mayor McLaughlin back in chambers for the CAO, and Councillors Bain and Abbott virtual. And back into the open session, which we had paused. There are two things to report out from the closed. And that is that Chief Oliver provided a staff update relative to Lions Bay Fire and Rescue. And the second item to report out is the mayor will be making an announcement on Remembrance Day. And that will be all that we are revealing from the close, which brings us to adjournment of the open. And I put forward the motion to close at Peter 9:21. Can I have a second to close? Thank you. All in concurrence, confirm by saying yes, opposed no.
Yes.
Yes, good evening, then councillors. Great, we're done. Good. Take care, bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Okay, and Peter?
Right.